You're watching Fairfield Public Access Television, and we're here today with Opening Fairfield Doors. I'm Susan Kessel, and our other host, Connie Boyer, to bring you a special guest, Wanda Roth, and we're going to talk about antique and collectible jewelry today. Connie, let's tell the mission statement. I'm sorry, I'm giving this job to you again.
Well, I guess it's rightfully mine since the last show I forgot to come. Now I've told the whole world. So anyway, and I know I missed a really good show last time, and I apologize to you for that, for missing that. So anyway, our mission statement is, by opening the doors into the lives of the people and places of Fairfield, Iowa, we strive to promote appreciation, awareness, and understanding for each other. And so let's start.
Wanda.
Let's start.
Yes, Wanda Roth. I came in Carol's Apparels the other day, which is going out of business, which we're very sad to hear about, losing another business in Fairfield. But I ran across your jewelry, which I've known that you do for a long time, and I just got caught up in here and could hardly leave. And I'm wearing something that I purchased. And I'm just having so much fun, and I thought this would be a great show to do. And so you have collected jewelry for all your life?
Many years.
Many years.
I've been very excited about the way that the jewelry is made, and that it's a lost art. And when things are made like this now, the cost is absolutely prohibitive. And I can actually give you an example.
Okay, sure.
Just to give you an example, just on cost, if you were to take something like this, a bracelet like this, or a necklace like this, today they charge $5 to put every stone into the prongs. And so that is an amazing added cost. And
you were saying on the back that they are all, welded and...
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Let's see this.
All these pieces have been, I don't want to say lovingly, but I will say painstakingly put together. I don't know if you can camera come closer, but what you can see on the back of every single one of these pieces, as I show them to you, is that each of these sockets that hold the stones have been hand soldered together to create a pattern, and you can even see the the solder marks on each of them. And then in putting it together in the casings, then they hand prong each piece. And as I said today, it's actually $5 a piece. So if you look at the amount of stones that they choose to put in, that's a tremendous amount for new pieces.
And these are just glass stones, or semi-precious stones, or they can be either in antique jewelry, or...
Right, well, just about everything that I have on the table right now you would consider antique costume jewelry. And there are very few pieces that I have that have precious metal, although this particular piece, which I'm very, very proud of, I know it's very, very small for you to see, this piece is patented on the back, 1892. And this piece actually is made of brass, but it has a thin layer of gold on the top, which when you look at it with a magnifying glass, you can actually see the gold strip right on the top, and then it's been hand engraved.
And you said this was your oldest piece.
This is the oldest piece, 1892. And this is the type of piece that were worn with the high neck blouses.
Oh, yeah,
and
sure.
It would go like this. And it's a very, very beautiful piece done with a peacock and feathers, and it's quite lovely.
So, Wanda, when you were growing up, did you wear a lot of jewelry as a child?
Well, I did. Listen to me. I kind of lived in a world of make-believe, although life was still very, very practical. I love beautiful things. I love things that shine. And as I grew older, it just drew me more and more to this art, to the art of antiques, big antiques, small antiques. But I found that the jewelry can get lost so easily and broken so easily that to actually have people have it and enjoy it and keep it for another millennium, if at all possible. You know, some of these pieces are 100 years old and they're in such perfect condition.
Right.
For instance, this piece is one of my pride and joy pieces, and it's mesh. It's from about the 1920s. And again, even though these are bezeled, what they call bezeled edges, each of the stones are hand placed, and as you can see, it's a very, very beautiful piece, extremely beautiful piece. So I like it. I like people to understand how it's made and how to take care of them.
And how, well, for example, I have a couple questions. They're all running through my head all at once. Number one is, how do you find out how old a piece is? You know, say, you know, we're all going eventually through our grandmother's things and our mother's things, and how do we find out how old these pieces are and what their value is and how they were put together, and then how do you take care of them so they can be preserved?
Very good. So let's start with the first question. How do you find out how old they are? Well, let's say as far as pins are concerned, pins that are before the 1920s. I don't know, Richard, if you can actually see this, but pins that are before actually 1930, all of the backs are in what they call a C-clasp. They have a clasp that just curves over, and there's no safety latch. So anything before the 1920s would be like that. Any of the earrings before the 1930s would have a very, very, very small screw back rather than the larger screw backs that they had in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. There was a very, very tiny piece, maybe the size of a pinhead.
Wanda, I noticed that you have a lot of books here. These are yours.
Yes.
And there are all kinds of jewelry, costume jewelry books. And I'm sure if someone were interested, they could go to the library and get something similar and look up and learn about costume jewelry. Do you use these for reference?
Yes, I use these for reference, and I study them, really studying them a lot. Not only to know where pieces come from, what countries they come from, but to know the age of them, and to also know when I'm out looking for jewelry what I really want to get.
Well, I noticed when Connie came in today that you immediately lifted her necklace and you said, that's from?
Czechoslovakia.
Okay. What tells you that?
What tells me that is not only the cut of the stones, but the type of chain that was used, and just after a while, as in anything else, there's an intuition, a very strong intuition that comes after looking and feeling and touching many, many, many pieces.
Now, I think that my grandfather bought this for my grandmother. Now, where would he have bought something like this for her? Would he have gone to a regular jewelry store or a department store type store?
Well, it depends on when he purchased it. But I would say that unless he actually purchased it in Czechoslovakia, he might have gone to either an estate, or he might have gone to a store. Maybe where was he?
Well, it would have been here in Fairfield.
Here in Fairfield,
And I think that I wanted to call her this morning, but she wasn't out of bed yet. And say, when did Grandpa give you this? I want to say, I think they were married in 31, and so I think that he gave it to her either right before they were married or as a wedding present, or soon within a year that they were married. So I'm thinking it's about that time frame.
So do you wear that a lot, Connie?
Not a lot. I've worn it, well, I've had this actually for probably 20-some years, and I've just worn it for very special occasions, you know, with like a satiny type dress, you know, that had a V-neck type style or whatever. But
I know I have some things that were my grandfather's that I got, and my grandmother's, and those mean an awful lot to me, but I also love going to auctions.
Oh, yeah.
Is that where you get a lot of things? Auctions?
Actually, these days, I will say this, because of what's happened with the interest in antique costume jewelry all over the country, the values have skyrocketed, and to find pieces at auction many, many times pay sometimes $200 and $300 for a piece that is a named designer. And particularly these days, now when the piece is Czechoslovakian and the older pieces that come from Austria, and Czechoslovakia, as we know, is no longer in existence, so those pieces have gone quite high in value. I have some on the table that when we look at the jewelry I can show you. But pieces of the designers in the 50s and 60s, and some of the names, Weiss and Schiaparelli and Jomaz and Miriam Haskell and all these top designers of the day, you go to an auction, I've heard that you can put out $300 for a piece.
Well, it used to be I would go to an auction and you'd kind of pick through things, and it depends on how they would sell it. If they'd sell a handful or a box full or whatever, you could maybe get a good deal, but now they almost pick them out individually, piece by piece, and if you want something really badly and there's a dealer there, you better be willing to pay pretty much what it's worth or what they could,
Yes, definitely, because location has a lot to do with it too. We're here in the Midwest, and still prices, believe it or not, haven't risen to what they are on the East and West Coast. And if you were to go to an auction on the East or West Coast and see the same piece, you'd probably pay maybe 30, 40, 50% more even at auction.
wow.
So how do you clean one of these pieces? Something that's, you find in the attic at grandma's or whatever. What's the appropriate way to take care of these?
Very carefully. Well, just to give you an example, let's say a piece that has a lot of rhinestones in it. Most rhinestones have either a silver or a gold color backing, and that backing, if it gets wet, can actually not only come off, but it can make the stone...
I'm just sitting here thinking, you know what I did this morning with this?
No, this is different.
Okay.
See, this is... May I just... No, see, this is different. This piece has no backing.
Right.
These stones are clear. These are clear, so there's no problem. You can actually take a piece like this. You can just literally be rough with it. You can, if that's silver, it might be silver. You can actually take the silver cleaner and wipe the piece with your fingers, go through it with your fingers, or you can take an old toothbrush. I have a few old toothbrushes, and you can put the piece in your hand, put some lemon soap and water, and just really brush it and not be concerned, because these pieces are not pasted, they're pronged, and they don't have a back. But the ones that do have the rhinestones that are set in prongs, those that have backs, you must be very, very careful. What you can do is take a little bit of lemon water, hot water and lemon, and then take it on a piece of toweling that doesn't have lint, and you can rub the faces, rub the whole face of your piece of jewelry, and then turn it over right away, only if it's pronged. We're talking about pronged pieces, and get all the excess water out on another piece of toweling, and then really, just as you would do on your face, just wipe it carefully so no moisture gets in, because it can cloud.
Behind the rhinestone or whatever.
Right, it can cloud it.
I would think that most of the time the jewelry is in pretty good shape. I mean, it's something that people keep in their jewelry boxes, and people save things. I save things. I mean, I think, oh, I'm not going to wear that. I don't want to lose it or have it stolen, or, isn't that silly? So I would think that it's in pretty good shape.
Most pieces are. See, I'm very, very particular when I buy my jewelry, and I make sure that they are. But then again, if I find a piece of jewelry that is just too beautiful to pass up and it has a missing stone, I'll buy it anyway, because I buy a lot of broken pieces that really can't be fixed, and I'll just sit for hours. It's really fun. I'll just get lost in taking stones and keeping stones and pieces and parts.
So I was going to say, you take some of your broken jewelry and restore some of the ones that maybe just have one piece missing or something.
Right, but only, I'm very, very particular to the integrity of the piece. It's very important to me. So if it's a rhinestone, it depends on whether it's a grayish or really bright crystal-like type of rhinestone, and even the cut of the stone, and what type of paste I use. And I keep within the absolute integrity of the piece, and if I can't do that, I won't buy it. unless I buy it for parts.
I can see where you would want to do that, and I can also see where if I do have a piece and it's missing something, I kind of remember, when that happened and being so mad at myself.
Yeah, it can definitely happen, definitely. But there are also sources around the country that if you have a very special piece, such as one I could actually show you, that there was one stone missing to a necklace, earrings, and bracelet of a very fine designer. And I sent it to him and I said, only if you have a stone that you know came from the same piece. And he found it.
Oh, that's
and I'll show it to you. Actually, I have the stone out so I can show you.
Now, since the store, Carol's Apparels, is closing, and you do have your things here, and you hope that you're going to have it at the Dandelion Patch so people can still appreciate and look at your things. But you're also talking about it would be nice or kind of a dream to have things on the internet.
Yes, I'd like to do that, and I'm thinking very much of doing. So what I'll be doing with the jewelry is having some at the Dandelion Patch, and then also I'm going to be doing maybe a show once a month. Go out and sit in the sun and have some fun outdoors and do a nice show to where
kind
people
like
come from all over the country. Well, not really a flea market because, see, I don't really have flea market prices on some of my better pieces.
Right.
So I'll be doing shows where dealers come in from all over the country, near Chicago and a place called Sandwich Lake, and where people come in and my prices, they'll think they're getting it for very little. Actually, it just depends on location.
It seems like it would be a very, as far as an internet business,
a good idea.
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea.
Feature one bracelet or something.
Yes.
Several, and someone will fall in love with it. Just have to have it.
Exactly.
Me.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you said you sent a piece to the original designer.
Well, not to the original designer, but there's a gentleman who replaces stones.
Oh, okay.
The designers. Most of these designers are no longer in existence.
That's what I was thinking. Right. I'm thinking, well, this guy must have been really old.
Well,
they're no longer in existence.
I think it's fun that the age of some of these things are totally in style again.
Oh, yes.
Coming around, and I think we should take a camera break and stand up and actually look at some of these pieces and talk about them individually.
I'd love to do that.
Okay.
Love to do that.
Well, I just dug through some things before I came up here, and growing up, I had little jewelry, little pins, silly little things that I've heard are very collectible now. And in high school, I started rings. I'm really big on rings and things like this that opened up. And I think this had some perfume in it. This giant ring. They must have been really big in the 60s.
Very big, yes.
And this again.
The bigger the better.
And accessorizing, which I know that you've done with people and their clothing, also involves scarves. This was from the 60s.
I was going to say, that looks very
familiar. And this one, which I will pick up, Richard,
Vera,
it's Vera. And I read somewhere lately that if it has Vera on it, that it's pretty valuable.
Yeah.
And the very super long look of the 60s. And then at an auction recently, I picked up these little things I think could be pins or on hats.
Pins on hats and suits. They used to put them on lapels.
They're really good shape.
Now,
they're beautiful.
Those are made out of what? Velvet?
Little velvet.
Kind of velvety looking.
Yeah, velvet.
They'd be great on a package, to give to someone. And then my favorite scarf, this was my mother's, and when I grew up in California, and it's kind of, what would you call this?
It's a souvenir scarf. Because it has the names of all the different
Chinatown, Catalina Island,
Hollywood,
Fisherman's Wharf.
Right.
I latched onto this early when I was a young girl because I thought that was so cool.
That's sweet.
Of course, when you go to auctions, you can pick up.
Oh yes, yeah.
Oh yes.
And beautiful
handkerchiefs.
A lot of the lace is done by hand.
Yes,
like
the tatting.
This particular piece is done.
And that is totally
done by
lost
hand,
art.
and this particular one is done by hand.
And my girls' grandfather, who died several years ago, but this was a very large man, used to tat and make this beautiful lace. And
I think I heard about him.
he made it. He created tatting for their aunt's wedding dress, and now the girls we each have a handkerchief similar to that with tatting around it, and it's such a precious thing.
Very lost.
That I keep thinking that someday when they get married, that will be the handkerchief they take down the aisle.
Right, right.
So,
And other jewelry that I have, and of course you can throw in purses.
Wonderful.
And
Yes.
this silly belt, you can see the dust on it. This belt from the 60s.
60s, yes, definitely.
And then you throw in,
Definitely.
this was my mother's probably in the 40s, I
And
think.
they're coming back in too. They're coming back in. People are wearing these mesh belts a lot now.
This is great.
you really don't throw anything away, do you?
No,
Susan?
I don't. And then also, this was my grandfather's. This is one of the things that I found in my grandfather's.
Now this comes from the 20s.
Okay.
This is definitely a 1920s piece. You've got cut glass here, as you can see the glass.
Oh, that's
Carved
glass.
and yes, this is all.
Okay.
This is glass, and then you've got the beads hanging from it. So this is from the 20s. Many times they made them very long, and this is also from the 20s.
This is the one I was telling you about. This is, kids do some beadwork nowadays.
But this particular design is from the 1920s.
And then just some other odds and ends from my jewelry box. This was an auction find, and when I bought this, the people with me laughed and said, "Where are you going to wear that?" And I said, "I'll find a place."
Yeah, it's a very, very sweet little bracelet. And these are little pieces of glass and plastic. And in the
Fun.
50s and 60s, the bigger the better. Women used to wear pins that went from lapel to lapel. And they would wear bracelets that were 3 and 4 inches wide. Beautiful, beautiful pieces. But also in the 20s, they did that as well.
Well,
on some
this
pieces.
really started my interest in jewelry here. And so when I look at your things, I just fall in love with them.
Well, I'd like to point out, if you'd like, with some,
Yeah,
some
let's
of
just
the
go down the
pieces.
table and
bangles.
tell us
Some of the
about them.
pieces
about
are
the bangles.
from. All right, this is actually an amazing find today. These bangles are made out of either celluloid or they're made out of Bakelite, and they're set, if you see the painting underneath some of them, and they're set with rhinestones. This particular one is a 3-layer bracelet, where this is not paint, but actually a different layer on each one. These have become quite valuable in the books now. These are upwards of $200 and $350 to find a bracelet like this.
Now, these are odd.
Yes, these are very
These are
odd.
odd. What are these?
These are also bracelets. These are also a bracelet that you would put on very, very,
Carefully.
very carefully. And these
Snakes.
are also snakes, yeah, these are also from the 50s. This one is made out of Bakelite. It's also a double layer that's been carved with rhinestones in it. And these are also upwards in $150, $200 on these.
I don't want to wear any snakes.
What
I dream
about,
about them.
what about this? This is another funny piece.
Right, now he's missing a little eye here, as you can see, but I had to put him out anyway. This is a little Scotty, where his head turns. I've actually got 2 of them, a black and a red one. Scotties are very, very, very collectible, very, very popular these days. These are made out of just plastic, and
What do you think the date would be on those?
the date is before 1930.
Wow.
If you can see that this particular type of catch, see this swings, and this type of a catch has no safety on it. So anything that you see like that is before 1930. Anything at all like that. This particular bracelet is actually a name bracelet. It's Weiss, which is a Bakelite bracelet.
Very attractive.
Yeah, and this one, as you can see, is set with rhinestones, and usually there would be a pair of earrings that would go with it, and they're very beautiful.
These are really funny. Look at those, Connie. Aren't those
Right.
sweet?
Yeah, I saw those. What are those?
These used to hang from
Necklaces?
chains. You know, when you had a keychain, these were keychain pieces. These are actually made out of lucite and and plain lucite on top. It's a real piece of bazooka gum and a real pretzel that's been insert into that.
What do you think the date on that would be?
The date of these are also about 60s, 1960s.
I like that bazooka one.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of bazooka. In fact, I still am.
Oh. This.
All right, these pieces are from about 1910. This is sterling silver, and I'm assuming, I don't know, but I think this is Czechoslovakian glass. Very, very lucky to find a set. It's very unusual to find a set like that.
And this being glass, they could break.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, if they're not handled properly.
Right.
I suppose if it were dropped on something cement.
Right, it could very easily break, so we've been very lucky to find something that has absolutely no mar on it whatsoever. This particular piece is from 1910, and if you can see, it's been very, very beautifully put together. There's a lot of detail on it, and it's just a very lovely piece. The piece here, this one is also about 1910, and it's got a very, very lovely chain. These are also what you would call rhinestones, carved rhinestones. This piece is quite unusual. I'm going to show you how it sits. This is the type of thing that you would see someone wear with a beautiful, beautiful gown for the evening or going to the opera. And it's quite a stunning piece. This is also from about 1910. And if you notice, I have some with same colors here. This is actually a belt buckle.
I wondered what in the world this was.
An antique belt buckle.
This jewelry, I think it would be great to put together an outfit around the
Very
jewelry.
definitely.
Like the other day I was looking at this one with a dress that I purchased, and I wanted this so bad. It's still here.
It's still here, right?
To just dress around this piece of jewelry.
Yes, as a
right
matter
here.
of fact, if you'll see that the piece that I have on, even though I'm wearing some daytime clothing, you know, it might be a little bright. I wore it for the show, but also you can see that it really enhances anything that you can wear very, very simply. And
Just one fabulous
One
bracelet
fabulous
or one
piece.
fabulous earrings. I tend to go simple on maybe my earrings and then wild and crazy on a bracelet.
Right.
And I think you can do that.
Yes, very,
And-
very easily. Just something very simple. You could even take a piece like this, which is nice and bright and beautiful, and even though it doesn't go with my outfit, let's show it on Connie's.
Oh, yeah.
You see, if you just wore this like
So
that.
even your old outfits that you have at home,
Yes, exactly.
to renew them with a fun piece of jewelry.
Absolutely. Now I wanted to show you this piece too. This is a very beautiful piece. This is celluloid, old celluloid. This piece is from France, and it even says Paris on it. Sorry for that. And on the back you can see that in Europe they had a different type of a clasp where you pull out the plunger and then you would put in the piece that holds it on and then push the
Okay.
plunger in. So this is from France.
It is amazing the different kinds of clasps that you run across.
Yes, it
And
is.
that probably is a real significant indicator of time period.
Time period, absolutely. The clasps are very much an indication of time period. Now, Connie has, as we've said, on a Czechoslovakian piece, and you can see that this particular piece has the same type of stones that Connie has on.
Oh, yeah.
And this is, as I said, also from Czechoslovakia. It's set in sterling, and it says made in Czechoslovakia on the back. This is about also from 1910 piece. This is a piece of what they call Bohemian glass, and
Very attractive.
let's see if I can find it.
So it must be lots of fun when you get something and you find
It's absolutely,
the picture in
it's
the book.
absolutely wonderful.
Oh,
Here are some
It's
pieces.
similar.
Here are some pieces. These are
very
Bohemian
similar.
glass pieces. And yeah, it's very, very exciting. I have found actually quite a few pieces that show in the books. Now this piece, which is really quite amazing,
With the
this piece
blue.
is from about 1910. and it has, I'm not absolutely positive, it can be lapis, but a lot of times I take pieces in to show to a jeweler, and this may be glass, what's called Peking glass. And if it is Peking glass, this particular piece comes from about 1910, and this piece is also Peking glass. And it's a very, very heavy, but very, very beautiful piece. And you can see how the stone was set in there.
And I think like this would look great with chambray or blue jean type.
Definitely.
I like to do that with turquoise also.
Yes, I know. They're very
to mix
beautiful.
the blues.
This is also another piece that goes quite old. This is from about 1910. And again, you can see, I'm sorry, go ahead, dear.
It looks like little chandeliers.
Yes, it's really wonderful, and you can put it on something cream, a beautiful cream dress, or you can even hike up something at the waist,
Fun
or
idea.
down at the hip, or on the waist, like that. This is also from Czechoslovakia. It's a very beautiful piece with little beads in between, and you see the settings. The beautiful thing about what they used to do in those days was they actually had designs on the back as well.
Oh.
This is from Austria, and this is real Austrian crystal. You can see how the stones shine. Very,
Is
very
that a pin
beautiful.
there?
That's a pin,
Okay.
Austrian crystal. Across the table here, we have 1920s flapper.
Okay.
Flapper pieces, and I'd like to show you something about this one. Whoops.
See if we can untangle it here. This is another one here with that type of beading that I
Right,
have
exactly.
with my grandfather.
Right. This one, as you see, is extremely long. And why is it so long? Because it goes 2 or 3 times around the
Okay.
neck, as it looks like a choker, and then it would hang on the dress like this, just about up.
And then they
up
would
to
do
here.
this.
And then they would do
Right.
They would hold it. And
Isn't that what it was
go
for?
like that. And this one is made out of carved glass beads, and very, very, very beautiful beadwork. Extremely beautiful beadwork. And this one is also from the 1920s.
That one
It's
looks
very
a lot
similar
like
to
the
yours.
one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very, very similar to yours. And this is also made out of glass, carved glass. And so then from the 1920s, we start to come, well, let me show you just this one more piece. Beautiful, beautiful work, all carved glass. You can hear the sound of the glass together. Very, very beautiful. And very unusual. It's very unusual to find a piece like that that has 2 colors. And then we go into the 30s and 40s. This is a very beautiful hinge bracelet. It does not missing 1 stone.
I remember my mother
Very
having
stunning.
some pieces.
They look really
30s and
beautiful
40s.
on like that. Very, very beautiful on.
And do they even make hinged bracelets anymore? I mean,
I think they do.
They
I've
make
seen
hinge
some.
bracelets, yeah, but not in this type of design. If you see the design is very, very complex with all different types of stones. And then we get into a lot of what we call glitz. We call it glitz. 40s, 50s, 1960s. I was saying earlier that I had a set that I wanted to show you where the stone was replaced.
Oh, yes.
And so, as I said, to keep within the integrity of the piece, here's the stone that I ordered, which was exact to the piece. And if you set it in right here, well, I'm not pronging it, but you can see, because I like to do that.
I don't think I would have ever known.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
if that were in there,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known.
See, it's very important. This is Schiaparelli. Schiaparelli was one of the highlighted designers of the day. I mean, if you find anything with Schiaparelli, it's worth quite a lot.
And what year time period was that?
This is 60s, 50s and 60s.
Okay.
This is Eisenberg, which is absolutely, you can see the workmanship is stunning. And look at the different type of catch, too, that Eisenberg used, rather than a usual catch. But this is a very stunning
My mother
parure,
used
as
to
they
have
call
a
it.
blue something, and I used to sneak in her room and get this on and show my friends and just
Yes.
think, oh, this is so
yeah.
neat, and put it on, and she still has it.
I know. This is the beauty of this jewelry. Not only is it a tremendous collectible and getting to be worth more and more and more every day, there are corporations that are actually buying up as much as they can get now and not selling it. It's become very valuable, very collectible. They're using it as in the way you would use stocks and bonds because you can't replace it. And now this particular set is by Jomaz, Jomaz, which is
unusual.
very hard to find. Very, very, very hard to find piece.
And what is that made out of?
This is glass. These are not. There are aurora borealis rhinestones in between, but this is actually made out of glass. And you see how beautifully set.
metal.
Even on the back, instead of using plain metal, they actually have a very nice pattern on the back. So that's Jomaz.
So it's a real piece of art. I mean, this person
Tremendous.
put,
Yes.
you know, his total artwork into
Absolutely. And
not
as-
just the front of what people are going to see, but also the back.
Exactly.
To really appreciate
Now,
it.
the earrings, I love the way some of the earrings look, but I'm not quite into doing the clip-on.
Yes, yes.
And you don't find the pierced
No.
in this.
No, the only time you might find pierced is occasionally before 1920 you'll find some pierced. But I've also shown people when they come in how these particular earrings can be adjusted to where
Oh.
you don't even know that you've got them
Okay.
on.
I didn't
And
know that.
As I was saying earlier, I'd like to show you the back of this. Here we've got, if you notice, not only 3 different sizes and shapes, but you can see the solder marks, how this has been made by hand. See, there's a solder mark here, and one here, and one here. And this piece has been put on separately. So not only do you have 3 different types of stones, glass, iridescent glass, aurora borealis, and clear glass, but this is what made some of the designers' pieces worth a lot of money. And here we have some, what we call Trifari. Here's a
Trifari, I think everyone's heard of Trifari.
Right? This is
haven't
a
heard of it.
beautiful
You haven't-
set.
Connie.
No, I haven't. Okay, I'm showing my ignorance again.
No.
This is a beautiful,
is that a designer?
beautiful
The
set.
name
Yes,
of the
Trifari
designer?
was the
Thought everybody
designer.
had heard of Trifari.
And here's another Trifari bracelet. Here we've got the beautiful earrings that have a blue aurora borealis in the center, a lovely necklace that can either be a choker or a 16 to 18 inch, and a beautiful bracelet that has a safety chain. And safety chains show that it was a very nice piece and sold at very high cost. In those days, we consider it high cost.
Well, and what would this have cost in
Yeah,
when
what
it
would
was
it sold
purchased?
for?
Yeah,
new?
in those days, the whole set might have been about $10. Around
Oh, wow.
$10. Today, let's say in California or New York, this set would go out at around $300.
And I was saying earlier, I would much rather have these kinds of things than
I
have
know.
real diamonds. I guess it's the artist in me
Yes, yes.
that loves this type of
Yes.
thing, but it's more fun.
Well, I will tell you that proportionately, this jewelry is worth more than real jewelry, because this cannot be replaced. Cannot. Whereas a diamond, or I'm only saying proportionately, whereas a diamond or gold, anything can be made up. Whereas this type of jewelry, a lot of the stones are just, it would be cost prohibitive. These are simulated opal, and not to look like real opal, but to make a stone like this today, what they would have to actually set up to do it would be very cost prohibitive. So proportionately, these pieces are actually worth more.
Now, there are certainly designers that are creating costume jewelry today.
Yes, definitely. They're very expensive.
So what are the difference? I mean, obviously in the way it's constructed. I mean, that's obviously one difference.
In costume jewelry, the way that it's constructed is that there's actually a casting that's made, a casting where the whole back is one piece. And then most of the stones, in most cases, they're pasted in, even
And
though in a
that's
lot
today.
of today. Some can be
Pasted, and you
pronged.
mean like glued or something?
Yes,
Some
yes.
kind of
like-
sticky?
Yes.
Something?
They're
Okay.
usually glued. There are very definitely pieces in the antique jewelry where you'll find stones that have been glued in as well. But they're very, very different. As I said, these are all hand put together. And each one of these little casings are hand done. And in most of the new jewelry, I just saw in a catalog, they were $300, $400, $500 for a butterfly, beautiful, beautiful butterfly with little Austrian crystal, and they're all pasted in, and it's a casting.
Oh, let's give our cameraman a little break, and we'll talk about some more. So we've given our cameraman a little break. I think his hands were cramping showing the close-up here, but we still have some neat things.
Okay, so let's start here. Here's a set of earrings and a pin here.
Yes, this is another 1960s into the 70s piece. Again, another handmade piece with beautiful, beautiful rhinestones. And again, it's really unusual to find sets. It's getting harder and harder, and you can wear that with any
Show the earrings.
evening outfit. The pin would look beautiful on the corner of a dress, on the shoulder, and on the neckline.
Okay, and here's another pin and earring set.
Kind of a square
gold.
pyramid.
Geometric,
Type,
yes,
yeah.
very, very stylish. This is more on your more modern look. Still handmade. If you want to show the side of it, you can see how each box fits into the other box.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all hand soldered. Very, very beautiful piece. Look very nice for daytime on the lapel of a suit with a nice little pair of earrings to match.
Okay. This little bracelet.
Now this is
really
a very,
nice.
yeah, very unusual bracelet. When you hold it, you can see that it looks angular because of the shape of the stones. But if you put it on your wrist, it
just folds over.
absolutely folds perfectly into shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
But because it's handmade, and they did so much work on that, I mean, I think it took quite a lot to put that together.
Is this all glass then?
These are rhinestones and glass.
Okay.
Rhinestones and simulated opals.
Let's go to this necklace. And
And the bracelet in front of it is a match to it.
And this is your personal collection.
Right, this
I
is
know
part of-
why.
Part of my personal collection. And it has, you can wiggle it a little bit. It has these wonderful little drops on the bottom. It looks very, very nice when you put it on with something in the evening for summer or winter.
And the
that's the bracelet
Oh.
that matches it. I actually had to have that bracelet repaired. One of the hinges was broken, and again, I wanted to keep within the integrity of the piece, and so I sent it out to have it repaired.
that's a beautiful piece. I like
it's
that one.
very,
So let's talk about this little bag here.
All right, this is from the 1920s. And
Is this a flapper bag?
Flapper bag, and I have to tell you that if you'll show one of these balls, the finishing pieces, those beads are over wood, and actually one of the pieces was falling apart, and I have to tell you, from a novice, it took me an hour and a half to do the beading correctly over the wooden balls so they didn't go into the center. So I have a great respect for how these things are made.
And these
Great respect.
are really popular now too. And
Very
they're making
popular.
newer versions. of the
Yes,
same.
very
Beaded
popular.
bags.
And this bag these days, an antique bag like that would go out in East-West Coast at around $350
No
to
kidding.
$450. Yeah.
Wow. And what would this have cost new, do you suppose?
New, maybe about $5-6.
My goodness. Okay, so we have this piece.
Yes, now this is a very, very beautiful piece. Some people might consider it or might not, but it is Kenneth Jay Lane. Kenneth Jay Lane. He is in the 60s, and it's hard to find his pieces. I actually picked up this piece in Florida, and it's in perfect condition. It's a choker, as you can see, with this wonderful clasp going right center.
In the front. The
Right
clasp is in the
center,
front.
right in
Unusual.
front, or on the side. you can wear the pearls around a little bit and have the head hanging right on the side.
And these are real pearls, correct?
No, those are not. Those are
they're not?
faux pearls.
Oh, wow.
I imagine it looks really stunning.
See, what do I know?
It's stunning
Simple
on.
outfit.
Very, very. Why don't we put it on you?
Oh, that's okay.
Right.
Let's take a look at
Very,
the one
very
on the
beautiful.
black.
Yeah, this one is what Ciner, C-I-N-E-R. Now, here's a beautiful history. Ciner, before the war, before the war in the 40s, made everything in real gems, real pearls, real gold. And then because of the war, and they put all their money into the war effort, what they did was start to make the most exquisite jewelry, and they made it look like real pieces. I have pieces at home of Ciner, C-I-N-E-R, that there's no way you can tell that it's not real. They did the most delicate, delicate things, and this is one of their bigger pieces. And if this were real, you'd have a Maubert pearl with gold, diamonds, pearls, and pearls.
Incredible. So what do we have here on this stand?
What we have here is a piece that is completely handmade with beautifully, beautifully hand-tatted lace in the back. This is the type
would
of
just
thing-
tie in the back,
just
I
tie in
guess?
the back, right? This is a piece that would go about 1905, 1905 to 1906, and it was worn very, very high on the neck with a dress that had a very low cut, maybe off the shoulder, and this piece would just sit and just flow.
I think
beautifully.
I've seen that in the movies.
Yes, like in Titanic, in the Titanic.
Which we were talking about.
Yeah, say what you said about since the movie has come out, the Titanic movie.
Right. Since the Titanic, there has been a tremendous rush in making beautiful, beautiful pieces that look like that. As a matter of fact, I'll just say then J. Peterman was a catalog, wonderful catalog that people are familiar with. And what they had was a whole catalog on Titanic clothing and jewelry and the reproductions and the jewelry. They were stunning reproductions, but they were anywhere from $200 to $1,000 for the reproductions. And they were gorgeous, absolutely
I've seen the blue
beautiful.
sapphire,
Yeah.
you know, that piece,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
Celine Dion wore it at
Yes.
the Grammys or the
Yes.
Oscars or whatever
Yeah.
when she sang. I've seen reproductions of that, like even in a mall,
Yes.
jewelry store.
Right.
So movies play a part
A
in,
very big part.
in what's going on, what's happening, and what we like and don't
Right.
like, and
Right.
trends.
Okay, so this yellow piece, this is a little bit too much for me. I don't think I could wear this.
Yeah, this piece is fabulous. This piece is made out of crystal. It's made out of glass. It's got beautiful, beautiful Venetian glass pieces. And this is what would be typically your 1960s to 1970s, where the bigger the better. As I said, there were pieces that ladies used to wear on their suits that would actually go from lapel to lapel. Beautiful pieces and very, very wide bracelets. Very wide bracelets. Now this is...
You could hear this person walking down the street.
Can you imagine the mood that person would be in that would have that on?
God, I know,
That
it's
would be
wonderful.
fun.
Yeah.
What were you going to say
What I was
before?
going to say is that this is actually leading up to these pieces. This is what you would call a Miriam Haskell-ish piece. This is like something that Miriam Haskell, who was one of the very, very top designers of her era in the 60s, she actually made many, many pieces for celebrities, for actresses that were unsigned, and they had them in their collection. These pieces right here are Miriam Haskell, and I'm really proud to have them in my private collection. If you'll notice, she used a lot of Baroque style pearls, and her signature, so to speak, were this type of a clasp. If you'll notice on all of these necklaces, you'll see the pearls centered with smaller pearls, and in most of her pieces, they're all hand wired. All of the pieces, the smaller pieces, are hand wired. And then on the back, particularly on this piece, you will probably not be able to see it, but there is a label put on that says Miriam Haskell.
And are these real pearls then on these particular pieces?
These are not real pearls. These are also, again, faux pearls, but they're in the Baroque style. Now, Robert was one of her designers, and he made a lot of jewelry for her, and then went off on his own and started making his own jewelry. And this is a very, very beautiful sample of his workmanship, because this has all been hand soldered pieces. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 or 12 hand soldered pieces, and you've got all these hand set pieces. And on the back, on here, you can see Robert, like that.
So I have to ask, there's a club for everything. So is there a club that people can join for antique jewelry collecting and information and
Yes.
sharing? And is there something like that in Fairfield?
Now, I see a friend of mine over there shaking his head yes.
Yeah.
Is it all right to ask Chris to?
Um,
What club is there in Fairfield for?
It'll be your club. And
Oh, my club.
Your
you'll be
club.
told.
Okay.
I would say the internet would be a good place
Yeah,
to check
yeah.
on that.
So
Good,
it's
we're
coming.
going to start a club.
It's coming.
All right. One more thing I wanted to show about this piece, even though, again, you might not be able to see it, is that there are pieces that go over each of these pearls, and they're enameled. There are little sections that are completely enameled. So there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into it. And on this clasp, you've got rhinestones and you've got antique gold-looking beads, and it's all hand-wired. All hand-wired. And then Susan really wanted me to point
yes.
to this
I
piece.
should show you. I think I should take it home.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
And you call these watermelon.
These are watermelon stones, the stones in the center.
Kind of
because
rainbowy?
They have the rainbowy. And these are the earrings to go with it. And
Oh, you need
again,
the earrings too, dear.
they're handmade pieces. All
So, I
hand done,
just-
hand soldered. Yeah. It's pretty great, huh?
Yes.
Pretty amazing.
Hey, Pat.
Hint, hint, hint.
I just have to
Call
show
me.
you one more piece. The other night I went out and I wore purposefully a very, very plain dark velvet dress that had spaghetti straps cut straight across, just totally boring. And I put this piece on a spaghetti strap right here, on skin, on strap, with just a plain earring, and
And I'm
then
sure
a
it
very simple,
came alive.
beautiful rhinestone bracelet like this. And everyone, I mean, it just looked magnificent. It made a real statement. That's what this jewelry does. You can wear it during the day, you can wear it in the evening. It makes a tremendous statement.
Well, this has been really fun and interesting, and I'm going to look more at auctions again and keep my eye open and tell my mother not to.
Don't throw away anything.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I'd just like to thank you for sharing with us today and hopefully opening a door in Fairfield to costume jewelry and collecting and appreciation.
Right. Well, thank you very much. This has been very exciting for me to do something like this, because for me to educate people on this level, I feel is very, very important. It's such a beautiful part of femininity, to
Yeah.
always look beautiful.
Well, thank you, Wanda Roth and Connie.
It's great
Thank
fun.
you, Connie.
Yes.
We're all jewelry freaks from way back, aren't we?
Thank you.
Bye.